Does your company need a boost getting employees to understand that safety is a personal responsibility? Does your company struggle with recordable injuries and lost time accidents? If that's you, give our friends at Wagner Industrial Training Systems a call today at 717-479-1052. Wagner Industrial Training Systems offers a variety of safety and continuous improvement services, including forklift certification and behavioral-based safety training topics that include lockout tagout, machine guarding, PPE, respirable crystalline silica, and countless other topics. Does your company require first aid, CPR, or AED training? Wagner Industrial Training Systems has licensed instructors to cover those topics as well. What would life be like for your family if something happened to you today at work? Give the guys at Wagner Industrial Training Systems a call at 717-479-1052. Also, you can check them out at Facebook at Wagner Industrial Training Systems. All of our Going Yard podcast listeners will get 10% off of their first class just by mentioning that you heard this ad. So call today. Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Going Yard podcast, where we talk all things baseball. We go deep.
Real deep into all things baseball, my friend. Can you believe it's number 10?
Yeah, we graduated to the big boy numbers for now.
Adam Jones territory.
Yeah, we're finally to the double digits. And it's hard to believe because it seems like we just started this, so things get better and better as we go. We're finding out things that we don't like about what we do, and we change it, and we find out about things that could make it better, and we do it.
Try to do the things you like us to do.
Exactly. So we appreciate you guys coming on every single week, and we encourage you to share it with a friend, share it with a coworker, and
one click is all you need.
Yeah, most of our listens every week, I mean, it's coming from all different places. I mean, we got 4 different countries now, 5? I don't know. It's pretty.
The U.S., Canada,
yeah,
Australia, Germany, Japan, Portugal.
Did you say Germany?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had some other listens in
Puerto
United
Rico
Kingdom and Puerto Rico and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, so it's been pretty awesome, and we only got a couple more states in the United States before we fill up the whole damn country. So I'm excited about this, guys. So got another great episode for you. Got a wonderful interview later today, later in this episode with Steve Gossett from PowerUpWedge.com. You guys are going to love it. Get ready to write down a promo code once you hear that episode, because I think you're going to really like the deal he's got for you guys. So, yeah, I'm excited. So, another fun week in baseball.
Yeah, it has been an interesting week in baseball, and it's changing every week, and teams are getting hot, teams are getting cold.
People are getting injured.
People are getting hurt. People can't get off the bus. No, I mean, it's always ever-changing. Every week is a new week in the game, and it's crazy. These guys, they get one day off a week if they're lucky, or one day every 14, 16 days, depending on the weather. So yeah. It's ever-changing, man. And nothing, just when you think you got a team figured out, they go lose 4 out of 6 or something. So, or you win 8 out of 10. It changes so fast, and if you're not paying attention, you'll be like, man, where'd that team come from? Or you'll show up to a game one day and you'll be like, oh, they're playing whoever, and you forget that whoever's won 7 or 8 in a row, and they just, keep rolling on your team.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very interesting, and especially with the injuries, which we're gonna talk about here in the top of the order.
What do you think of the Memorial Day uniforms?
I love them.
I wasn't a fan of the Royals, though, the blue on blue thing. I didn't really care for that look.
Yeah, I like. Well, a lot of the teams kind of look. They had a similar kind of look to them. I guess it was the away. No, it was probably the home jerseys. I really like the way they look.
I like the hats, though. Mm-hmm. I really like the hats.
Yeah, I think they're pretty badass. Cool. I like them. I'd like to have one.
The Mother's Day hat was pretty cool, too. The pink, it was pretty nice.
Yeah.
So shout out to the moms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hopefully the Father's Day hat coming up here is just as good.
It's probably just going to be a floppy hat. You know how it is. Can you imagine him on the field with a floppy fisherman's hat?
Trucker hat with the measure back, snap back.
Oh, my gosh. But yeah, so let's move to the top of the order here since we're talking about injuries. So we just saw Acuna get hurt, and that was terrifying because that looked exactly to me like when Bryce Harper.
No, I was thinking of Manny Machado.
Oh, that too.
Oh my gosh,
That
man!
too.
I saw that, and then I saw I didn't know what happened. I just saw Acuna was injured, so I had no idea. And I just pull up, the update and watch the video, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Oh my God, what just happened?
Oh,
Like,
my stomach
please,
just turned.
Like, please don't show this again. And,
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But his body
gracious.
did the same thing. The reason I said Harper, if you watch the Harper video, he does the same thing. He was kind of like waiting for the safe sign, and his leg hit the wrong way, and it's almost like his body hit a spring, and his legs just lifted up over top of him. That's exactly. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Here we go.
Horrific looking. I mean, it's probably up there, short of like Joe Theismann and then that poor Louisville basketball player the other year. I mean, short of something that horrific, just to look at it is like,
remember?
I think a guy getting hit in the head with a line drive doesn't look as bad as that, short of this how scary it is.
We'll keep talking about Acuna here, but since you're talking about comparing, do you remember we were pretty young? This is like Expo days. Do you remember when Moise Alou, he rounded first going to second. He was screaming in between first and second. His foot was turned completely around, and like the umpires, they just turned around. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't even watch this." We have to find that clip and we'll post it on Facebook.
Gosh.
I'm sure you guys will love it.
Like I said, there's some horrific ones, but that was pretty ugly looking. And man, what a blow to a guy who just burst on the scene, though, dude. I mean, I think that it's diagnosed as a mild MCL sprain. I mean, what about that was mild?
I don't know. It was like a 45-degree angle.
I mean,
sideways.
Whoever said that should have been slapped in the head.
Well, and he wanted to play the next day or next game or whatever it was.
Smart.
And they said he'll be on the 10-day. I don't see that happening. I mean, I don't care how optimistic you are. He is young, so he's obviously he's not as frail as someone that's, as we said last week in our episode, as someone that's 28 years old and a lot older.
Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, he can obviously heal a little bit faster. But I'm thinking like mid-June.
I'm thinking he'll be 10-day DL, and then he'll probably just easily come back in. Hopefully, there's like they have an interleague game and he can maybe just DH for a game or something. But I definitely don't think they should rush him back. He's way too talented of a superstar, and too really important. That team's doing really well. Mm-hmm. So this could be a turning point for them, unfortunately. So hopefully it's just a little setback. Hopefully he gets healthy quickly and he can get right back into doing what he's doing, because just to watch him play, he's amazing. He's a superstar.
Yeah, well, when talking about should we put him back in early, bring him back early, we've seen this happen in the past. Syndergaard, for example. All right, so he had the strain. What was it last year in the oblique or something like that?
Yeah,
So in that.
Shut him down for a long time.
Yeah, that didn't go over well. He missed almost the entire season. So with Syndergaard out too. I mean, he's got issues. Apparently, it's a flexor tendon strain in the fingers. There's two studs we've been talking about, and I made the joke about this. Every person that we talk about gets hurt like the following week.
Yeah, I'm sure they're probably out there saying, "Please don't talk about me."
Yeah. So Tyler texted me. He's like, "You know what? Bring up someone that you really can't stand." And maybe he'll get hurt the next week. And I said, does Josh Beckett still pitch? He was such an asshole.
Definitely.
Yeah, so...
Syndergaard hurts them. I mean, they just lost Matt Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Now they got another... I mean, is DeGrom going to stay healthy? Matz, I mean, that team is reeling in a way, man. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Do they start thinking about next year already, or... Is Syndergaard going to be able to bounce back and get back to who he is and what he's done over the course of the year,
And when you hear things like this, you're like, like a tendon in the finger. Like, what? It doesn't sound too crazy. He's a pitcher, everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely huge.
That's definitely huge. I mean, same with, Bumgarner in the beginning of the season. It's like, it's just a finger. But, I mean, he's just slowly coming back here.
Look at all the problems the guys had last year with blisters from the baseballs. Supposedly, they say the baseballs. But, I mean, look at all those issues they had last year. Guys, coming out in the third, fourth, fifth inning with blisters, and then they miss the next start. And then, 2 weeks later, they have another one. I mean, these finger problems suck for a pitcher. It's a tough thing to deal with. I guess it's like a batter fouling a ball off his foot or the inside of his calf. I mean, all these little things, they damn ding you up. And when you're out there every 5-6 days, it's tough for a pitcher to recoup. And hopefully it's just a mild setback. I did see that, what's his name, Byron Buxton from the Twins. He also ended up on the DL. And he's a guy that I know he's been a huge prospect for them. He's had a couple good moments, but I mean, there's another injury of another guy that's a key part of a playoff team, possibly, Dan.
Yeah, I it's just amazing. I said this before, but it's like every single day something pops up on my phone because I get alerts for every single team in the major leagues just for this podcast to make sure I'm up to date on everything, and it's insane. Every single day somebody's on the DL, and it's like every other day it's someone huge that we talk about all the time, and we hear their name all the time. And you see 10-day DL, and you think, that can't be that bad because it's only 10 days. But 10 days is, that's at least, I don't know, 8 games, it's 9 games, somewhere around there, whatever.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're gonna miss a good 7, 8, 10 game or 7, 8 games in the 10-day DL. I mean, if you're a pitcher, you miss 2 starts. If you're a relief pitcher, it really sucks. So
yeah.
It's one of those things that I do. It was a 15-day DL. Now they moved it down to 10. I think that's much more manageable.
Yeah.
But these things all have a cause and effect, and I guess it gives somebody else an opportunity to step up and play at some point, whether it's from the minors or somebody off the bench. I mean, obviously you have to replace the person no matter what. So,
yep.
But it's always somebody else that's got to fill the shoes, and hopefully they can hold it together for these teams. Are all playoff. They were playoff contending teams in a way.
Agreed. Well, let's move on. We got a couple more topics to go over here in the top of the ninth before you guys listen to the interview. Big topic of the discussion this week, big controversy, Rizzo's slide. They're playing the Pirates, came in to break up a double play. From watching the video, obviously, this isn't his first time he's done this. Obviously, he redirected his path to go towards the catcher, and after reviewing it, it was quote unquote a dirty play, and he's done this. This is the second time he's done this. What do you think about it?
It's a controversy, I guess, to everyone who's not a Cubs fan. If you're a Cubs fan, you're like, oh, he's just going hard. He's going in, trying to break up a double play. There's definitely a difference between breaking up a double play at second base as opposed to breaking up a double play at the plate. Do I think it was dirty? Probably not dirty. He was intent on breaking up the double play. He intended to take him out. Like, if he didn't, his feet would have went straight over the middle of home plate, and he would have slid in because the throw beat him by a good 2 or 3 steps. So, yes, he did touch the plate with his arms sticking out, and he's 6 foot something. So, you could clearly see that he was a good 3 feet in front of home plate with his feet sliding. Mm-hmm. So, was it dirty? I wouldn't say it was dirty, but he had all intentions of clipping the catcher and knocking him off his path. I mean, you watch the video replay, the catcher kind of catches it, and it was coming from the shortstop. So it's kind of tough for him to step towards first base and really clear the plate. He caught it, stepped straight ahead towards second base, and then tried to throw to first. So in moving towards second base, he still gave Rizzo a chance to get to him.
It was a lot of room.
If the throw comes from the second baseman, he clears Rizzo towards the first baseline, and it's probably not an issue. But it's just one of those things where I don't think he ever intended to hurt him. The guy did finish catching, I believe, the rest of the game.
He did, but I will say this. The reason I said a lot of room because I didn't want to cut you off too much.
Oh,
but
no,
I just, from when I first saw the play, I originally thought, wow, the dude was standing on the plate, so of course. But then when you watch it, you're like, he had enough sense to move out of the way. It may not have been, 2-3 feet, but it was a good foot off to, it would have been Rizzo's left foot or more off of the plate, and he was out of Rizzo's way, and I don't know.
I mean, I don't blame the Pirates manager one bit for going out there and getting ejected.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he had every right to. It's definitely. I think MLB baseball came out, front office and said that the play should have been deemed interference. I believe they came out and said so.
Yeah, should have been a double
Dude, I
play.
think it was dirty. I don't think it was completely dirty. I think like I said, if you go into second base, it's a different story. And then you saw the next day Contreras gets thumped, so you just even it up a little bit, which, and then I saw the Pirates guy slide hard into second base, and then Baez wanted to kind of have a little hissy fit about it. Like, I love Javi Baez, but it's like, really, dude? I mean, he didn't even get you. So I don't even know what you're complaining about. It was very mild in, what it was compared to what Rizzo did. So, like I said, I definitely think there's a difference between breaking up a double play at second base and breaking up a double play at the plate. And the only issue I kind of have with it is that Rizzo was out by 3 steps. It wasn't a bang-bang play.
Right.
He was out by 3 steps. He was out before he really ever started sliding. So, for me, that's the only part of it that I don't really care for. Do I think Rizzo's a dirty player? No. Do I think Rizzo will get thumped at some point this year when the Pirates play again? I do believe that.
Well, another story just popped up here. Hanley Ramirez, now he was just released by the Red Sox as a free agent. That was 24 hours ago. He's got 48 hours before he can technically be acquired by or picked up by another team. Your thoughts on this, and who do you think who do you think, if anyone, is
Ain't nobody gonna pick him up nobody's gonna pick him up in the middle of. He was designated when Pedroia came off the DL, so obviously they tried to make a trade and they couldn't because I think you have 10 days to make a trade or something. So he's owed like $15 million the rest of the year, and he has a $22 million vesting option next year. So nobody's picking that up. I can promise you that. Somebody will probably pick him up on a minor league deal because the Red Sox will be on the hook for the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So maybe the Braves do, and they see if he can play third base because they've been dying for, they just tried to do it with Bautista. So maybe they're a team that pick him up. Maybe the Reds, maybe the Met, maybe, somebody like.
What about the Indians or the Twins?
I don't really see a fit for either one of those teams. Maybe the Indians do it. I'm not sure, but like I said, I think it's probably somebody else on the fringe. Maybe it's the Phillies who want a veteran player. I think that's where you might see more action with him, is a team looking for a veteran player who's been to the play. He's not a superstar by any means like he used to be, but if he gets hot with the bat, he could do some things. I mean, he's got pop in that bat no matter what. So I'll be interested to see what happens. I definitely don't think anybody's picking him up, for his salary. Nobody wants anything to do with that. Mm-hmm. So this is another bad contract, though, for the Boston Red Sox. Goodness gracious. You got him, Sandoval. Even David Price hasn't really pitched to that contract, that's for sure. So these things are starting to add up on that team. Where do you think Hanley might end up, though?
I don't know. I think you had a really good point with the Phillies. I'm trying to think of, because for the money, I definitely don't. I don't think he's going to be. He obviously can't be paid the money that he wants, but I don't know. The reason why I said the Twins earlier is just because when the season started off, I thought they started out, I thought it was going to be like a super season for them, and things started kind of going
a little sideways.
A little sideways, yeah.
Not downhill, but just a little sideways.
Yeah, a little sideways. So I was thinking, well, that could be a possibility. And it was the same thing for the Indians for a little while. But I don't know. Philly sounds like a pretty good fit to me as well. But maybe no one.
I see the Phillies or the Braves, I think, would be the two spots where he might jump in and try to get some playing. I think he would get playing time there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think if there's any team in the AL that would help him out being a DH, because his defense really isn't very good anywhere. So. But who knows what'll happen? It's interesting. Somebody will take a flyer on him, no doubt.
Well, you guys need to let us know because within who knows in the next 24 hours when you guys hear this, deal might already be done. But if not, let us know what you guys think. But the last topic we're going to talk about here is the umpires. One of the episodes I was talking about, wouldn't be. I can just see having that strike zone where it's just floating out there that we see on TV be something where we would have, just a electronic strike zone so we don't have to deal with the umpires' horrible calls because we're seeing it way too much now. The calls are horrible. Lot of ejections
Yeah.
recently. I mean, even someone like Mark Trumbo, who he doesn't get too hot too often anymore. He just got ejected in the ninth inning of a game, and just these horrible calls that are being made. Of course, his was about going too far forward, but they're talking about automated strike zone. And apparently, it's in the works. It's moving along a lot quicker than they thought it would be. I think it's a really good idea because I think these ridiculous calls are costing games, costing big games. It's causing a couple wins at the end of the year means something. Maybe not right now, but I mean we see it all the time. So the instant replay, for example, hasn't been something that's been in the major leagues forever. We always wanted it, and all of a sudden it came, and it's like, oh, thank God, because it makes sense now. So what do you think about this, Tyler?
For anyone who knows me, I have no love lost for an umpire. You watch some of these umpires in the major leagues, the strike zones get all over the place. I think technology has really hurt the home plate umpire more than anything. I will say,
because it shows us how bad they are.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, well, it's just, and for most people who coach or are part of it, when it can't be a strike in the eighth inning if it wasn't a strike in the first inning. And umpires really get on my nerves sometimes with how it changes. And if you want to call the strike zone, call the strike zone, but it can't change over the course of the game. I will say at the major league level, the college level, it's unbelievable the rate of success that these umpires in the field have with making out calls. I mean, for anybody with the naked eye to watch some of these plays at first base or the steals at second base and the relay throw, I mean, it's incredible how accurate they really are in all of the plays that get reviewed. But the TV is really and for most people who may not realize, I don't know, but the camera that you see most of the game from is not in dead center. Yeah. It's off for a slight angle towards left center. So even the pitches you're seeing, they may look at a certain spot, and they are just a little bit inside. They are just a little bit off the plate. So, but you are seeing some of these strike zones just be all over the place. And these guys, there's too much money involved for it not to be right. Do I think electronic umpiring is going to be the future? Probably at some point. I don't know if it's going to take 10 years, 20 years. I don't know. You're still going to need a human body back there to make out plays at the plate. Yeah. Interference calls, those types of things. But it just, some of the strike zones, and it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts to watch some of it. And I mean, I was watching the Brewers game the other day, and pitcher throws one basically right on the inner third of the plate, and the umpire blows the call, strike three. I mean, I don't understand. It's a save situation. So that's just one example. And what, Angel Hernandez, I mean, how many times do you see him? The worst part for me, and to keep rambling in a way, is there's no credibility. And I get that, there's a shortage of umpires at the rec level and the travel level and the high school level, but there's no accountability to them people. It doesn't matter what you do. They get to go umpire the next. They can toss the coach out like it doesn't matter, but there's no accountability towards them. Just like when they blow a call in the big leagues, the MLB comes out 2 days later with some press release, but the reporters can't go interview the umpire. That's not allowed. They can make all this money and travel in great travel accommodations throughout the major, but they can't be approached about their terrible call. I mean, that's unacceptable to me, no matter what level it is.
I've only seen it one time. I think was it Jim Joyce?
Oh, yeah, he came out when a Galarraga guy threw the perfect game, and he blew it.
Yep, he blew it. Would have been the second to last play of the game.
Stepped on first base, and he blew it for the Tigers.
And he got on there. He's like, I got it wrong. Yeah. And I'm so sorry.
Cried his
I
eyes
got
out.
It wrong.
Yep, that's the only time. Any time other than that, they never, ever have to accept responsibility for it.
But that was him. Like, he did that himself.
Personally, correct.
He did that himself. So I think it would be fantastic. The only thought would be two things. There has to be someone back there, like you said, for the calls at the plate, which even some of them, but thank goodness for replay. But the calls at the plate. So what other things would that person be needed for in those situations? And then also technology. When we watch games, I mean, we could be at the bar outside of the actual game, or just walking in going to the bathroom, you see the TVs inside the stadium. There's a delay in even if you're that close, there's a delay in everything. So how delayed are those calls going to be?
Yeah.
Is it going to slow down the game? How fast can they get feedback? And who's going to be calling it? Is it going to be still a guy behind the plate? He just isn't allowed to call his own pitch, or what?
Good point, Dan. Honestly, I didn't really even think about that. I mean, so it's definitely something. And for everybody out there who umpire, I've done some umpiring for games, and I'm not the greatest umpire. I get it, but for all and I'm speaking really from the travel, high school level, and you put so much effort and time into your team. You spend $500, $600, $700, $800, over $1,000 to take your team to a travel tournament, and you just get absolutely hosed by an umpire back there. And they call strikes in the dirt. They call strikes. I mean, watch the Little League World Series. Some of those highlights you see of some of the things, they're calling strikes 6 inches off the plate. I mean, come on now. That's not fair to anybody involved in the game. So do I respect you? Man, these umpires sometimes take a beating with foul balls, parents are never happy. It's one thing for a coach to come out and voice their opinion in a polite, full manner. The parents just ride umpires a ton, so it's always a little bit of a hassle there for them. So I feel bad for them in a way, but it's got to get better, or the game's going to get hurt from it. Honestly, I mean, you're going to start to lose interest from it if it doesn't get better. Because, like you said, there's too many games wild card games decided by one game.
Yep.
It's too close, and there's too much money involved for it not to be right. And that was the whole point of replay, was to get it right. Well, let's get the strike zone right. Let's do that then.
Yeah,
right?
Let's start there.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that'll conclude the top of the order segment, and we're going to move on to our interview. This is our product demo with Steve Gossett from PowerUpWedge.com. Enjoy. All right, we are on the line with Steve Gossett. Steve is the owner and creator of the Power Up Wedge, which is a baseball and softball training device that can be found at PowerUpWedge.com. Steve played his college ball as a shortstop at Riverside College in Riverside, California, and at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After college, he spent the majority of the 90s as an assistant coach, a pitching coach, and even a recruiting coordinator at a few colleges such as the University of Redlands, California Riverside, Midland Lutheran College, and Cal State Northridge. Steve would then spend the next 14 years as a scouting supervisor for a couple of MLB organizations such as the St. Louis Cardinals, the Kansas City Royals, and even the New York Mets. For the last 4 years, Steve has put his time into building his company and his brand, and we have him on the line today. So, Steve, thank you so much for coming on and taking some time to talk with us.
Hey, thank you guys, man. I really appreciate you reaching out and making this work. So thank you.
Oh, the pleasure's on this side of the table, man. We're definitely excited about this, and we're excited to use the product too. That's for sure. So,
yeah, sorry I didn't get those out sooner.
No, it's okay. What we might do, we don't do many videos with us using stuff, but we might have to start doing that because I think that'd be cool. Because we have the facilities, don't we, Tyler?
Yes. I think once they get in, Steve, we're gonna probably put our daughters to the test and do a real demo, and then we'll post up the video of them using them and working on it and share it with you and everybody else.
You guys played and coached. I think you ought to get on them and see what you feel. And I mean, that's the biggest thing is once you get on it, you're going to feel like you're dug in, right? I mean, you're going to feel a presence in your lower half, and it's just going to remind you of the days when you hit cage bombs or bombs and BP.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I don't know if I was ever that good. No.
You know what? Tyler and I are going to be such better baseball players in our mid-30s than we ever were just because of all these people we're meeting in this podcast. So,
aren't we all?
We're peaking at a later age.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, you and I, we were talking off air a little bit about your college days. I like the story, and I have to have you talk about it. So, I ran through your bio here, and it was kind of quick going through it. But tell us a little bit about your college playing days, because I think it really it helps our listeners understand where you're coming from, and it kind of builds the story. So, if you could just kind of fill us in on your days in college and playing ball.
Sure. Well, I mean, back in the '80s, it wasn't. I'm going to go a little bit more in depth of what we were talking about. But back in the '80s, a lot of us when we were growing up, our parents didn't have degrees, so it wasn't real important to be on top of your education, right? Baseball was what you dreamt of, and that's you just thought you were going to play in the big leagues, and everything else was just a stepping stone to getting there. And I was one of those kids that just really didn't. School was not my passion. Not that I wasn't good at school. I just didn't want to put the time in. So I ended up, getting a scholarship to Riverside City Community College in California. A great baseball program, and I got what I had to get done there educationally, but I excelled on the field and was lucky enough that Oral Roberts University was a private institution and could get me into school because some of my grades weren't good enough, whereas other teams that were recruiting me, Arizona State, Cal Berkeley, USC, it just wasn't going to work because my GPA was not high enough in my high school. Academics were below par. So luckily Oral Roberts was a private institution and they got me in there. At the time they were ranked 6th in the nation. And when I went to the campus, it was like walking into Disneyland. I mean, this is 1984. And I mean, it's state of the art, dude. I mean, this place is unbelievable. The stadium, I mean, the recruiting letter, mentioned we're 6th in the nation. We've got 4 preseason All-Americans. Our lights are ranked 3rd in the nation behind the Yankees and the Royals. And you walk into the stadium, it's just legit. It looks like a miniature Dodger Stadium feel. It was just really nice.
Wow.
And when I got there, I mean, one of those preseason All-Americans was a shortstop. So my infield days were pretty much limited.
Couldn't move you to second base, huh?
Pretty athletic. Yeah, I couldn't stick over there either. That guy named Keith Lockhart that played 10 years in the big league said that one's sewn up. So
double whammy.
Yeah, so they put me on the mound. I had arm strength, I was anywhere from 88 to 93, and ended up hurting my arm. I was just a thrower and kind of strained the ligament in my arm and my elbow, and luckily my pitching coach was Jim Brewer. He had pitched a number of years in the Dodgers organization. I kind of grew up, idolizing him, and he pitched for the Angels, I believe, and the Cubs, and maybe even the Brewers. But kind of took me under his wing and just taught me how to pitch. I didn't, need the 93. I could pitch at 86 to 88, and he taught me how to throw a sinker and a little slide piece, and had a lot of success at the college level. So that was a big turning point for me, and really learning about myself and how to control the game and not just go out there and go balls to the wall and try and get it done that way.
So Steve and Goose, as you said, your nickname was.
Was it Goose because of Goose Gossage?
It was. I was like 7 or 8 years old when he was closing for the Yankees, and it just fit, right? So
Yeah.
It just stuck with me forever.
That's awesome.
And then when I got into scouting, it's just like people would say, "Hey, Steve Gossett?" And I'm like, "No." But you mentioned Goose, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
Nice.
So getting out of your college days, you kind of jumped, I guess, right into the coaching ranks. What was it, Jim Brewer, who kind of made you feel like you thought that you could jump into being the coach and doing all the things that you did post college?
To be honest, I had some great mentors when I was growing up. My high school coach, I just love the guy's name is Lyle Wilkerson. I mean, he really passed down a lot of really great infield work to me and hitting stuff. And so he really nurtured me as a player. And then the junior college level, he followed me over there and just really helped shape me as a baseball player. And then when I got to Brew, now I'm getting the full pitching regimen, right? So I had the best of both worlds. I had really good coaching as a position player and then also as a pitcher. But as I got older, I played a year of pro ball. I mean, rookie ball. I wasn't drafted as a free agent. Played in the Pioneer League, so I was in Butte, Montana.
The beauties of pro baseball, right?
Yeah, it's more. I mean, still Butte, but it's like Montana. I mean, beautiful country, but man, we were our bus rides were brutal. So, but it was a good experience for me. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and that really kind of solidified me as becoming a pitching coach. And you're always wanting your pitchers to be athletes anyway. And I think I had a little bit more, experience that way than a lot of just guys that were just arms,
Yeah.
Pitchers were always considered non-athletes.
So, well,
That's kind of crazy.
So, anyway.
Yeah. Especially since we've had a few pitchers on, and we've interviewed a lot of pitchers, and a couple of pitchers that played in the majors, and it's especially back then, it was a workout.
Yeah, they weren't coming
They
out
were
in the
most
fourth inning.
they were the most conditioned players on the field. It was like they were playing
No doubt.
a lot. So, but as a pitching, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, in college, our conditioning program was incredible because of Brew. But then when I had friends that went and played, got to AAA or the big leagues, and then when I became a scout, I'd see these guys that had been in pro ball 2 or 3 years, and the ass and legs on these guys that were the pitchers were just incredible, just because they worked so hard with their lower half.
Tree trunks.
And it's amazing what you can do when you work at it. Strength is the biggest separator at all levels. And to see these guys be able to go up there and get in the right condition and really learn how to maintain their body and make it a strength of themselves was kind of cool. So
Yeah. Now, as a pitching coach, especially since you just kind of brought that up right there, I was going to ask you what some of your responsibilities were as a pitching coach, but I guess what were some of the things that were important to you as a pitching coach to kind of take a player that was coming out of high school and who had a foundation, but that needed some work. What were some of the things that you focused on as a pitching coach to make sure that your pitchers had?
As a college recruiter, I'd say guys that competed. They didn't have to have a great body. They didn't have to throw real hard. At Cal State Northridge when I was there, and at UC Riverside, we're getting guys that are throwing 86 to 90. My last year at Northridge, we had a few guys touch to 93, 94, which was nice, and had a couple secondary pitches. But if they knew how to compete, and they had some aptitude, could learn a little bit, and could spin a breaking ball, I always felt that I could really help them with the mental side of the game and teach them how to throw a changeup and just, kind of mentor them on the pitching end and help them further their competitiveness as well and learn how to use adrenaline the right way and see things that I never saw until I really started to develop that senior year, like, just building confidence and understanding that, hey, if I got a runner on first here, I've got a full happy right-hander, I'm going to throw a sinker over the middle of the plate, going to pull to my shortstop. It's going to be a 6-4-3 double play. Just learning how to put that stuff into your mind and make it happen by building confidence and seeing things when you're throwing BP or pitching in a game.
So, and for the average person who goes to, a major league game or a college game and, they see this guy standing out there holding the towel for the pitcher who's warming up with the catcher and, they think, oh, man, that's such an easy job. He runs out there between, the head coach and he takes the visit once in a while to the mound. Can you just talk for the average person who has no clue that, they think it's just so simple that they, walk out there and say something magical and they put it all back together. But, what are some of the things that, when you're in the dugout and you're watching the game go on that you're looking at as a pitching coach to help get your pitcher back on track when they're struggling?
I'll tell you, for me, it was more mechanical. I'm kind of a mechanics freak, but I could see guys when they would kind of lose their focus and get out of rhythm mechanically. And I a couple times, I'm telling you, I'd go out, he'd throw his warm-up pitches, I'd see he was kind of out of whack. He'd go 2-0 on the first hit of the inning, and I would get out there. And I'd say, hey, look, you know what? You need to get out and prepare. Those warm-up pitches are for you to prepare for those next, 3, 4, 5 hitters, whatever coming up. So I always thought it was an opportune time to go out earlier as opposed to letting him walk a guy and having to figure it out on his own. I would try and, interact myself in that before all that damage got done. Because I remember as a player, you kind of get out of whack, and pretty soon you got first and second, nobody out, and the number 4 hitter coming up, and you're like, why can't I throw a freaking strike right now, And then you groove one, and it's a double in the gap or a home run or whatever, and now it's 3-0 and nobody out, second and third, and the game is running by you. So I always took pride in trying to slow the game down for these guys and talk to them about taking it one pitch at a time and make sure they're, following their checkpoints. Don't get ahead of yourself. There's a process, every pitch there's a process. Just get back to the process. And I had a lot of success doing that. So
now are you, and obviously you're all in on pitching and all that. Now, everybody always hears, I didn't have fastball command. Why did you struggle? You didn't have fastball command. And for the average person, they have no idea probably what that even means. Like, oh, he didn't have fastball command. Right. He's a major leaguer. Why doesn't he have? He's a Division I pitcher. Why doesn't he have fastball? Just throw it over the plate. Take a little off. I mean, you hear all these parents yell all these things all the time. It's not that simple for one, I guess. But can you just explain a little bit for the average casual person who may not know what any of that means?
So fastball command is basically just throwing a strike with your fastball, just getting it over the plate. Control is a different thing. Trying to get it to an area or a zone and not just leaving it over the plate. But that's stuff that you have to have aptitude. You have to have a feel for your body. And you can't just be a thrower, right? You have to understand what you're doing in your delivery, have a plan to where you're going with the pitch. And that's, to my point earlier, that's kind of what I was when I got to Oral Roberts. I pitched, but I was just a thrower, and I'd have success like every third outing or something like that, because I didn't know what I was doing. But once you're able to get a feel for your body and get ahead in the count and learn how to pitch a little bit, 80% fastball or 75% fastball, get to your best fastball when you need it, I have a chance to survive and go deeper into games and really set some guys up for some other stuff. So the learning how to pitch part, and using your body in the proper way of get ahead or finish is a big deal. And like I said, when I was a junior, it was all about trying to finish them, even if it's just 0-1. It doesn't work. Yeah. So when guys can kind of get their head wrapped around that, then they start to really, climb the mountain, so to say, or peak, and it becomes really fun. So.
Well, Steve, another thing you said that I caught on to, and it's not talked about enough, and you just said it briefly. You were talking about how to teaching them how to use their adrenaline. I've seen it a lot. Him and Tyler and I are both Orioles fans, and we've seen many a pitcher for the Orioles come in and just as a reliever, and they're all hyped up, and we've only had a handful of really good games in the last 10 years to watch, but with playoff games in recent years, we've seen relievers come in and they're just amped.
Kevin Drake. Kevin Drake was a beauty.
Yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Sorry, Kevin Drake.
Yeah, but not even. We always pick on the Orioles because we can.
Who knows?
But we see that all the time. And adrenaline, they wear themselves out so quickly because they get on the mound. You're like, oh my God, Brian Mattis is about to have a heart attack right now. What is he doing? And
right.
But that's so important. That's something that you don't hear a lot of people talk about. And as a coach, that's super important to teach your young pitcher how to do that. So.
Well, I always talked about the bull in the china shop, or the running of the bulls. Man, all those things they see red. They don't. they don't see anything but somebody to gore right in the ass, right? I mean, that's all they're after.
Yeah.
And you know, as a player, when your adrenaline gets the best of you, you're kind of seeing the whole zone. You know, you're seeing the hitter, the umpire. You have no tunnel vision. You're just there to freaking get it. You just think, I'm just going to get after it. Boom. Some days it works. Some days you're just in such good rhythm. You're on time. The ball's coming out of your hand. You're landing in the right spot. You're getting out front. You're driving the piss out of it. And it's going right where the catcher's set up, right? Even though they're snapping their head and jerking, you know, pulling off, whatever. But, you know, to be competitive every day, you've got to learn how to keep that adrenaline down and control your energy, right? So you can go out there and, you know, you understand, hey, I might have to freaking pick the first base here, right? you understand the situation. The game's not about you just getting out there and just ramming it down their throat. You have to have some wherewithal and some presence to know what's going on and know, hey, okay, hey, this guy's a fastball hitter. I got to get a slider, you know, slider to the outer half or, you know, whatever. I got to make it piss. I can't just come in here and drive the piss out of it and think I'm going to get away with it, the ball at the belt.
Back to the scouting report in your mind.
Yeah. And that's, but you can use the adrenaline. And that's one thing I learned how to do is I'd be sitting in the dugout in a tight game and with 2 outs, I'd start letting that adrenaline start creeping. You know, you can control it. I'd start letting it creeping, and it helps you focus if you use it right. And you get out there and you kind of use it to focus and get your stuff going, and then your blood gets going a little bit more, and you know, you can use it in the ways that you need to. Yeah. But if you just let it overtake your body, then, like I said, the game's going to run right by you, and you're not going to have success like you'd like to or like you could.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome. You use it as a tool instead of something that's going to be, you know, reckless for you. So that's great.
I think Nolan Ryan's a great example. I mean, you know, in his younger days, power stuff, right?
Yeah.
Incredible curveball. I mean, 105 mile an hour fastball, and he just let it rip. But then when he got with, I think it was Houston, you know, late in his days in Texas, he still threw 98 to 100.
Yeah.
They learned how to control his body, right? He had a purpose. You know, he had a plan for every pitch, and he had a purpose behind it. And all of a sudden, he's throwing no hitters where he's really efficient. Not throwing 140 pitch no hitter. He's throwing a 120 pitch no hitter or whatever. You know, and just dialing it up late in the game because he's controlled that energy and what he's trying to do with the hitter and in the zone. So.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, and even today when you watch, like,
were you guys born then? You guys know Nolan Ryan?
Oh yeah, I watched him pitch at Camden Yards, and it was crazy because he was in the 8th inning or something like that. You could hear him grunt when he was throwing. He was pitching against Ben McDonald.
Yeah. Big Ben McDonald from LSU, still broadcasting
Ben McDonald
on the SEC network.
Pick,
yeah, first overall pick the one year.
Ben.
I remember Nolan Ryan beating the shit out of Robin Ventura.
Yeah, that was great.
Who doesn't remember that one?
Got him in a headlock, just beat the hell out of him.
Just walked into a mall at some sports store. And
old man had something for him.
Yeah.
$75. You can have it. Right there. Blood on his uni and his lip, and he's towed up on the rubber, ready to get after it again.
It's awesome. They don't build them like that anymore.
Have you ever seen an interview with Robin Ventura? Like, what was he thinking?
Oh, I know.
Well, I mean, was he in an 0 for 40 slump and just trying to, instead of a slump buster, he's going for an ass kicker?
And the other part of that, which was ironic, was earlier that day. It was like Robin Ventura Day or something like that at the state. I can't remember if it was at the stadium, but he spoke to an entire group of kids about having good sportsmanship.
Oh, how perfect!
Just earlier that game, so that made it even better.
Oh Lord, I never heard that.
Well, I think in college he was part of the brawl with OU because he was at Oklahoma State, where Oklahoma State took the bats out against the OU players.
Yep.
Oh man!
Back in the late '80s, I think, or
it had
to be the late '80s. Because he was I think he was a freshman in '86. I'm not sure at Oklahoma State, but
that's crazy.
That makes it even
a
better.
long time ago.
So jumping in and moving on a little bit here from, your days of college and all of that. How did you get into working into the major leagues and the couple different organizations you were with? How did that transition happen for you?
Just I was at Cal State Northridge recruiting coordinator and pitching coach, and I was on the road every day. Southern Cal, man, on the road means you're driving 20 miles here and 10 miles to each, see 5 games a day. So I was just on the road and got to know a lot of the scouts and I'd help them out with players I saw that we, there's no chance we're getting those kids or they would ask me about a name that they had heard and I'd say, this is not a kid for, it's not a pro kid. And so, St. Louis Cardinals scout, his name's Chuck Fick. His brother's Robert Fick, played for Detroit for a while. He's known as a brawler, but did some home runs. Anyway, Chuck, I had helped him out with his list, just helping him out with players. And he was getting promoted, so he told me, he's like, hey, I put your name in. I think you'd be perfect, scout for this area. And I didn't know what I'm like, hey, I'm happy here. Mike Batesville is head coach, and he was a good friend of mine. I played college ball with at Oral Roberts, and we were trying to rebuild that program, and we were on our way. And but he presented to me like, hey, this is something you could do and build a career. I just gotten married. My wife's from Nebraska. I moved back there to take this job, and so I said, all right, I'll go listen. I'll go to the interview, and so I went to the interview. I met Marty Meyer, who was the scouting director at the time, and he had been with the Cardinals for 25 years. Just a great man, and he presented the job as no one else could have. Just the independence and what you mean to the club as a guy out there in your area, identifying players and how you're just a part of this team and building the major league club. And it turned out that I was in the top 3, and I ended up getting the offer, so I took it. And there was a chance I could get back to the Midwest for my wife, and so I took the job. And it was, the first few years with the Cardinals, probably 5 years, it was just like you had said. It's, hey, you're out identifying players. We're going to lean on you. We're going to, do what we have to do, and you'll call in guys to get them cross-checked, blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly what it was. And it was fun. It was, St. Louis. I mean, I grew up a Dodger fan, but I think it was 84. The Cardinals beat the Dodgers, but I was always a Cardinal fan too. So it was enjoyable. And we had Big Mac at the time, and that's some really good players. So it was a great time to be in St. Louis. And it was everything he said it would be. And it was just, compared to college recruiting, which has become so cutthroat, and guys are signing kids when they're in 10th, 11th grade now and are getting commitments. And it just was a more independent, easygoing job, I guess. And you got to really work with parents and players without rules, so to say.
Yeah,
so
all the restrictions.
Really great relationships. And I'm sorry?
And all the NCAA restrictions that are, involved in recruiting and,
right.
Communication and all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. But you still got to work with college coaches. I mean, I referred a ton of players to Pepperdine and USC and Long Beach State and UCLA when I was there. So
great baseball schools for sure.
Kind of the best of both worlds. So.
Yeah. Now,
I'm sorry, what?
I was just saying that's some of the best baseball schools in the country, honestly, to send kids to. Some of those that you just named off. Goodness.
Dude, that's the best place to scout for me. Southern California, maybe South Florida. You're Southern California. You're home every night, unless you don't want to be, and you've got to get to Santa Barbara, and see somebody up there, or San Luis Obispo, and you need to stay the night. But other than that, you could do 4 games, 5 games in a day, and still get home, and then do your work, get out the next day about 1. Get home at 9:30 the next night. And it was a great place to scout. So,
can you just and for the person who's St. Louis is probably one of the biggest baseball cities in the entire country, and they're not the biggest media market or the richest team in baseball, and I think when teams think about pitching, and there's probably not many organizations that do it better than the St. Louis Cardinals. And can you just talk a little bit about some of the philosophy and idea that they have as an organization that you are a part of, and how are they so successful? Every year they have a new guy. Like they lose a free agent, and every year they have a new guy that comes in as a starter, or even two guys that at the end of in the postseason run they find some rookie to come in and can dial it up. How does an organization like that do so well year in and year out?
Well, that was their philosophy. Draft pitchers. You never know. I mean, you can get a kid in the 15th, 18th, 20th round. You don't know what they're going to be, right? But if you get a bunch of those guys, throughout the draft, you might have 3 or 4 guys that just make a jump and that run through the big leagues or the minor leagues, right? And then all of a sudden they're trade bait or whatever. But it was, for the most part, it's like, hey, let's develop arms. Let's develop players, number one. But if we develop these arms, man, pitchers are, you can get 3 or 4 guys for a pitcher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was our philosophy. That was their philosophy when I got there. And I think it continues to be that with, I think Mike Gersh is the GM now, but even with Mo was there and Walt and when I was there. But it's draft pitching, because you can never have enough and everyone else is going to need it. So it was always about developing players, but pitchers, number one. And the years I was there, Jeff Luno came in and he's with the Astros now. And we had we hired a cartoonist who was, tinkering with all the Hall of Fame pitchers, right? So, I mean, back in the day when I learned, it was watching Sandy Koufax and watching Nolan Ryan and watching Bob Gibson and watching how these guys use their bodies. And that's the way I learned how to pitch. But then as you got into the 90s, it was, Tom House kind of took over and he was doing some different things like tall and fall, where you weren't really using your body as much. You had more of your upper body getting down the hill before your lower half got down the hill, and it was ass backwards and guys get hurt. But we kind of stayed with that mold of the Hall of Fame pitcher, and we had a cartoonist that approached us, and he had done all this research on Hall of Fame pitchers and where they were and how they stayed healthy, number one. And so we started breaking it down mechanically. So every pitcher we scouted, we had a checklist of 10 things, and we would grade them A to F. And if they didn't have a C grade or better, we would not. And this could be a kid that's going to go in the first round. If he didn't have a grade mechanically of a C or better, we wouldn't do anything with him. And I really think that kind of set us apart from other clubs in the 2002 to 2010, and they're still doing it. They're still refining it. But I just think when Jeff Luno came in, he really was ahead of everybody else. Everyone thought he was going to come and be a stat guy, but he was a stat guy, but he was more of a blend guy where he would do scouts and technology as well. But just where the game had grown from the past to develop where we wanted to go. If that makes sense. So.
Well, I didn't actually have this written down, but after talking to you, I have to ask the question. I'm sure there's probably some people that are listening that are wondering the same thing. So as, a scout that's going out and looking at all these players, whether it be in high school or college, is there anyone? I mean, you were there with the Cardinals during some exciting years. You were there with the Mets during, with some really good pitchers. Anybody that you can say, yeah, I found him? Any name dropping you can do?
Well, I mean, with the Cardinals, Dan Herron.
Nice.
He had like a 10-year career. I mean, we traded him to Oakland for Mark Mulder.
He was good on my fantasy team, really good for 2 years.
I think he's on Twitter now as like I throw 88 or something. He's really a quiet guy, but on Twitter he's freaking hilarious. But he was a guy. I mean, he's a Pepperdine. He was
Smart
94
guy.
to 96. Yep. But he was also a guy that would. The thing about Danny, he just wasn't not a high energy guy, right? And he would go out and he'd give up 8 hits in the first 3 innings, and scouts would walk. They'd leave the game, right? They'd have their boss there to see him. They'd leave the game. But what I saw was a guy that didn't have control of his delivery in the first 3 innings. He'd kind of be across his body, elevating the ball, his slider's flat. All of a sudden, 4th, 5th, 6th inning, he starts figuring it out, and they might have 1 hit for the rest of the game. And he's throwing, a heavy sinker at 93, 94 with a 82, 83 mile an hour slider and a dirty split. And if you left early, you might miss the best part of his game. And I had him in the first round, but we ended up getting him in the second round, and he ran through our system. He went out and did a lot of good for a lot of teams and made a lot of money. But he's one. The other, I'd say the most famous right now that I signed is Michael Fulmer.
Oh.
With Detroit.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year candidate, right? Or did he win Rookie of the Year?
Yeah, yeah, he was Rookie of the Year, I think, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But we took him with New York with the Mets and then traded him for Cespedes.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was on his way to being the Double-A, Pitcher of the Year, Rookie of the Year, or Pitcher of the Year in the Eastern League. And they traded him, and I know they didn't want to trade him,
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody wants to get to the World Series, and they thought that was their best chance to get there and win, so they traded him up. And
he's probably about to get traded again.
What's that?
I say he's probably about to get traded again from Detroit to somewhere.
Yeah, he might be. Good for him.
How about poor Matt Harvey? You're a Met guy. You're there for. What do you think about that, real quick?
Matt Harvey was I had seen him in college, and I didn't like the arm action personally, but my first year with the Mets was his first year with the Mets, and dude, that guy ran through the system. But I've heard the makeup is a little suspect,
Yeah.
So I'll just go there. But he was really good for a short time, And Max Scherzer, I didn't sign him, but
what a stud!
This guy's really. He's turned he has really changed how he works and. How his delivery and everything. And in college, he was a really high elbow guy in the back, kind of push the ball. And he's gone to work and really refined his delivery. He's taken what they've given him, educationally as a pitcher, and really changed how he approaches it. And the stuff was there, but now he's got some playing to all his pitches, and he always had the competitiveness and the drive. And now he's just sick. He's disgusting,
It's impressive to watch, isn't it? Lord, you turn the TV on when him and Verlander are dealing, and you're like, holy hell. Put your seatbelt on.
Verlander's crazy, too.
Mm-hmm. So this was the main reason we reached out to you, honestly, and it wasn't to hear your great stories and all that you've done and did, but, I want to give you the chance to really jump into your innovative side here and what led you to develop this wedge, and how long had you been working on this product for, Steve?
Well, to be honest, the thing that led me to it was I was playing golf with my wife.
Is she better than you?
No. She's horrible. She was horrible. She's a lot better now. But when she would set up, she would shift her weight to where her head would be over her back leg. The club would just keep going in the back, and she would have no chance to get back to contact. So it was ugly. So one day I had enough beers in me. I'm like, hey, here. I grabbed a towel. I wadded it up. I stuck it under her foot. She's at this crazy angle. I'm like, look, I know it feels weird, but just feel the pressure and and that's all I said. Just feel the pressure and now swing. And her head didn't move. Her shortened her swing, and she crushed the ball right down the middle. And this is like the 18th hole. And then I put another woman that was in our group, and she did the same thing. So had they hit the ball in the weeds, I probably would have just popped another beer and said, I don't know shit, right? So
story of my life.
I got on the towel. Yeah, I got on the towel, and I'm like, it just felt like I was, like I told you guys earlier, I was dug in. I just had this energy and presence in my lower half right away that just felt athletic. So the next day, well, actually that night I came home and put some stuff together and built this little, pad and started working with it under my foot. I put it under my daughter's foot and put it under my son's foot, for them to swing the bat. Because baseball is what I do, right?
Yeah.
So, and it really helped them. They were like 6 and 9 at the time. And every report that I wrote, like I said, I'm a mechanics guy. Whether it's hitting, fielding, pitching, whatever, every report I wrote as a scout, a lot of times the deficiency was in the lower half, whether it's plate, on the mound, or if they're a pitcher, they're drifting across their body because they can't control their backside. If they're a hitter, they're jumping out to their front foot or leaking open or overloading on the backside. And the wedge help all of that. So the next day I'm watching Creighton and Nebraska, 2 Division I teams, and there's probably 7 position players between both teams and 4 pitchers that day that have no control of their lower half. They don't know what they're doing. They're either no load, chasing fastballs out in front, breaking balls, or they're overloading on the backside. Their timing's all jacked up, or the pitchers are getting stuck over the rubber, so their arm gets long, ball's elevated, breaking stuff is flat, all this quirky stuff. So I built some wooden wedges. I got some foam. I glued a strap on it so it would stay on your foot. So it'd be efficient. And I took it to Wichita State as I worked into my territory. And Todd Butler was the new head coach at Wichita State. I handed him to Brian Walker as hitting coach, and he threw him on some guys, and they started to feel a difference. They really felt some presence, and they were beating the shit out of the ball. And then they had like 5 left-handers. Gillespie was one. He was a first-round pick in 2014, I think. A couple other guys, and they put them on the lefties on the right foot, the front foot, and just let them stay behind the ball, and they were just launching balls in the parking lot. They absolutely loved it. The next day I was at OU. Mike Anderson, the assistant coach there, a friend of mine, flipped them to him. He put them on their guys. They loved it. Next day I was at Oral Roberts. Ryan Palmer gave them to him. They loved it. So I was like, things working for Division I players, that are supposed to be very highly skilled. I know it works for my kids' ages, 6 and 9. So, what doesn't it work for? It put it on some infielders, just to keep their, stable between their feet. And as they would transition from fielding the ball, they would go to throw, and it would keep them from overstriding in their throw or getting stuck on their back leg. It just keeps them centered, right? Athletic. So when they do that, it just lets their arm work right up on time, and the ball's jumping out of their hands. So I'm just like, I was blown away at what it did. I knew it would help in the hitting pitching department, but when we got to the fielders and the catchers and guys that you see, I know a couple big league guys that really had trouble with their front side being soft on their front knee. So they'd kind of land to their front foot to throw, their knee would get soft and their elbow would drop. They'd push the ball. So we got on their front foot, firmed them up, their hands stayed up, and they just drove the ball a lot better. So one of them's a Met. I won't say his name, but the other one was in the Rockies organization. I think it's Jackson Williams. I don't think he's playing anymore, but it just really helped him out. So I just decided to, do the work, and I didn't know anything about finding the manufacturer or how to design it or any of that. And it was a long process. So I got after it and kind of figured it out, and, kept redesigning, wanted to look cool. And, there's only a certain amount of things you can do when you're building a mold, how they put it in, take it out. So it couldn't look exactly like I wanted, but it turned out to be as durable and comfortable as I thought we needed. So, and the biggest thing, the strap makes it efficient, but I get a lot of people to talk about, oh, I use a doorstop, or I use this piece of wood, or we have a 2x4 in our cage. Like, hey, use whatever you can to get you in that position. But I'm telling you right now, the strap is what makes the difference.
Yeah.
Because it's strapped to your foot, mirrors your mind to your foot. You're walking around on it. You're sitting on it. You're moving on it. And after 10, 12, sometimes 8 swings, but 10, 12, 15 swings, you can take it off, and you will still feel that presence.
You just kind of have like
if you're just on a ramp or a 2x4 or a tennis ball or whatever, you're going to do it. You're going to be in that position, great, but your body is not going to remember that feel from that few of swings,
Right.
So
yeah.
the strap has really made a difference.
I'm on the webpage right now. I'm just kind of looking at some pictures. I urge anyone listening right now, go to powerupwedge.com. Check it out. It's just for baseball alone. You have pictures on here of guys catching. You have pictures of guys in the infield. You have pitchers. You have the lefty hitting. You have all that on there. But on top of that, you also have the golf. You have cricket, softball. It's pretty wild because you paint the picture really well with how it can be utilized. And as an onlooker, kind of just looking at the pictures, I can see just based on what they're doing, I can see how it could help and really kind of just. I mean, nope.
Yeah.
Like the name speaks for itself. The Power Up Wedge. I mean, it kind of gets you going, and it's perfect.
And that's, I struggle with a name, if you're ever trying to think of a name for a business or a product, it's tough to come up with something. I got stuck on Power Up Wedge because it's going to increase your power, because it's keeping you in your athleticism, in the bigger muscles in your body. You're doing less, but you're creating more, right? So if you're diving out and you feel like you're really swinging the bat hard, but you're separated and, there's no finish to it. But if you're staying in your legs and your core and your shoulders are finishing the swing for you properly, it's just so much more efficient and powerful, and you have a chance to drive the ball through all fields and make hard contact consistently. And that's what we're trying to do, is just get kids to be consistent with their lower half from the ground up and work it right up through their body. And we all know as a player, sometimes you feel like you're really strong, doing a lot, but it's probably an arm swing,
Yeah.
You're working hard, but there's nothing there. And we're trying to do more with less effort. If you can just get into that back hip and coil up, drift to your landing position, get that front foot down, get it into the ground, get that heel into the ground, and start the rotational effect of your swing, the bat is going to fly. You don't have to swing with your arm. The bat's going to fly. And it's the same way on the mound. If you can stay into your leg and not get outside that energy of the, outside your knees, and stay inside and stay stable in that backside. I'm not saying stiff and unathletic. I'm saying you got to control it. It's hard work. You look at major league pitchers, they control their lower half. They're not out there just kind of relaxed willy-nilly. They're controlling their lower half and getting it into the right position. So when that foot leaves the rubber, their front foot's about down when that back foot leaves the rubber, and their hips are exploding because they've kept them torqued up that last minute, and their front side closed. Their arm works up in perfect time, and the ball, you just have the torque and the energy running through your fingertips, right? It just works.
Mm-hmm.
But you have people all the time that think they've got to, get a lot of energy going to get down that mound and really rip their front side out. That's not how it works. You might feel like it's on hard, but to be efficient and consistent, you have to sacrifice some energy to develop control, command, spin, all that stuff.
I'll tell you, I'm sitting here and I haven't said one word in 3 or 4 minutes because I'm listening to you paint this
Because I'm
picture.
freaking blabbermouth.
No, I love it, man. This is what I was when I reached out to you about wanting to have you on this podcast. I was like, God, I looked at this product and I was like, holy hell, this thing makes total sense in what he's trying to do. And I'm just sitting here listening to you paint this picture, and I've been coaching high school baseball for a while, and we get, a kid here, the kid there that, he's got it. And then other kids are like, God, like, I don't know if you're ever going to get it. But I mean, you keep working with them. But it's like, so many kids on their front side are swinging, their front knees breaking. They can't stay back on a breaking ball. Pitchers,
Right.
they're striding down the mound. Their front knee breaks. It's out over the front toe, and they're out on their front side. They can't, locate. They can't stay consistent in their mechanics. And, I'm just listening to you talk about all these things, and I'm like, damn, man, like, if everybody would just spend a few bucks, they got no problem spending $300-400 on a glove or a bat, but they could spend a few bucks and really get something to really impact their physical mechanics and their abilities. You know what I mean? So I love hearing what you're saying about it. And, for our listeners, where would this product be best used at? On the tee, doing soft toss, live BP, bullpen session, between starts? I mean, when would you recommend the most for our listeners with their son, daughter, golfer on the side for themselves? When should they use it the most?
The cool thing about the wedge is you can use it with anything you're doing. If you're doing drills, right? If you're doing tee work, I tell people, do dry swings. Get a feel for it. Doing dry swings, you will feel the energy come from the ground up. That's what you want to feel first, is how your body really, how it kind of connects and reorganizes itself once you get these on, where you're not leaking over the front side or leaking over the back side. And you just do it nice and easy and feel like we have people all the time, we're at tournaments or wherever else we're demoing, and kids will be swinging and their hands are leaving their body to cast the bat or whatever. And you get them on the wedge and all of a sudden they're moving their lower half and they're getting the barrel out front to make contact on the tee, and you hear it out in front, right? Mm-hmm. Or even if they're not on tee, but dry swings, you hear their barrel speed out front. And the kids are like, oh, God, I thought the bat was going to fly out of my hand, because they're not used to that. They're used to expending their energy to the contact point and then decelerating as opposed to accelerating through contact, and it's fun to see. I mean, it's fun to see. And
it is. It's amazing when
obviously I'm the developer, but whatever.
No, I'll tell you, all the kids that I've got to work with and coach with, when it clicks on a kid and you watch that light bulb go off, it is something impressive when it happens. At least I think so.
No, and that's the fun part as a coach, right? Because you've helped them get to that point, and you're like, you feel that? You get it, and you get it. Now you can move forward and become this guy, not the guy that, flaring balls the right field and or swinging and missing, or
rolling over on a breaking ball,
rolling over on everything, or having trouble hitting the ball at the infield. But yeah, it's been fun. I mean, we have people out there that are naysayers. I'm not into gimmicks. I'm not into that. This guy's reinventing the wheel. Well, I'm not. I developed this because I saw a need at the major league level through the younger than little league, right? Mm-hmm. We have 28 major league teams that have purchased these. We have numerous big leaguers that train with it. Our pro model was developed by Major League Odor. Is it Odor? Shit. With the Rangers. Mm-hmm. Second baseman.
Yeah. Punch Bautista in the face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just talked about that the last episode. It was one of my favorite moments.
Yeah.
Of Bautista's career.
The Rangers bought like 30 of them, right? And he's using it with Anthony. I posted their hitting coordinator, or actually their major league hitting coach, friend of mine now, and he's like, I had posted. He sends me a picture, texted me a picture one night. He's got a beer right next to the wedge on his desk, and it's got a marker line through the wedge. It's like, hey, can you do this? I'm like, can I do what? I cut the top off, or can I, he's like, can you just shorten the angle? I'm like, sure. So I have an indoor facility, I have a machine shop right next door. I took it over. The guy cut a half-inch off the bottom, sent it back, and they're like, we love it. He loves it. Because it's not as, the pro model is half-inch shorter, roughly 3.5 inch than the MVP. It's less aggressive. It really works well for younger kids and for those guys that have a feel of what they're doing with their lower half. And it just still gives you a presence. You know it's there. So if you're having trouble, getting over your backside or leaking through your front side, or just want to get a feel for getting into that back hip, it's perfect, right? But the MVP, which is higher, if you have kids that really have a lot of movement going on with their upper body over the backside or over the front side, put the MVP on, you put on the back or the front, and it's just going to keep you stable. It's going to force that energy into the bigger muscles on the inner half of your body and make you feel it. So it does some cool stuff.
I have to joke about this a little bit. You said 28 teams have purchased this. Please tell me that the Orioles and the Marlins are the only teams that haven't purchased this. Because it would make sense.
No, I have not done stickers for the Marlins. I've done them for the Orioles.
Okay.
I was about to mail Chris Davis something for Christmas.
Yeah, we haven't done any for Seattle, but I know some of their minor leaguers have them.
Okay. All right. I had to joke about that.
And that's the thing. I mean, there's we've sold like 20,000 of these in 3 years. So
wow.
And a lot of them do. Like the Royals bought 100. I wasn't working for them at the time. They bought 100, sent 50 to the DR, 50 into Surprise for their minor leaguers. But the Rangers have them in their system. The Dodgers have them. Yasmani Grandal was using it a lot last year. I know he still uses it.
Wow.
Nice.
We have a ton of minor leaguers that use it. They don't use it every day. It's a feel tool, right?
Yeah.
When you don't feel great, I mean, when you as a player, some days you just feel like your body feels like a lawn chair. You feel heavy in your legs.
Get you back on track.
Just get you back to feeling that right movement into your back hip, because it kind of pushes you into there.
Yeah.
If you have that movement, it's going to work you right into there, and it's a comfortable feel. And back to your question of when do you use it? We have guys using it, I guess, for dry swing, for tee work, front toss, machine work, BP, but it allows you to train the speed of the game as well. So some teams like KU used it in their inner squat game. Players would hit with it, pitchers would pitch on the mound with it. Now, if there's a bunt play, they weren't putting on bunt plays and stuff like that, but they're letting them throw with it to get that feel while they're trying to get hitters out. So you can use it in any situation. I have people all the time go, why would you wear this, in practice? You can't use it in the game. And I just scratch my head. I'm like, you're training your body. You're training your body to work at that speed, that level into a game.
Right.
It's just, I don't get it. I understand why you want to do it, but I don't get why people would say, why would you want to practice with it and not, you can't use it in the game. So
right.
Anyway.
Well, I can't wait to use it now. I'm excited for the chance to be able to take some swings on it, some throws on it, see how my kids are with it. I mean, that could, watching our girls play tonight, that could fix a lot of things.
It could. And if your son doesn't destroy it, it's a really good product.
Yeah. I have a 5-year-old son, so he spends most of his time.
Once he takes a lighter to it, I think it's good.
Yeah, he spends most of his time in kicking dandelions in the outfield. So
he could wear it while the game was going on.
Yeah, he would probably wear it as something like a superhero to wear. He'd probably pretend he's Thor or something. Who knows? But
strap it on his wrist like it's going to shoot a laser.
Or he'll put it on his feet. He'll put it on his feet like he's supposed to, and then expect himself to fly around now because he thinks they're rocket boosters. So yeah. So I'll make sure I take a picture of that as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Send me that one. We'll put that on Instagram. But that's one thing we found too, though, that working with some TPI professionals and and other people like Ron Wolford with Texas Baseball Rants, they use it different ways than other people use it. They'll turn it around so the high side is on the inside part of your foot. So as you get into your lift as a pitcher, it's making you put pressure down through your, the ball of your foot, the inside ball and the inside heel. You're forced to press into the ground. So it's used so many different ways, and Pittsburgh Pirates used it for base runs. They took the strap off, they put it at first base, just trying to get guys to understand how to use the ground.
Really good idea.
To move instead of thinking about, exploding with their hips. They wanted them to explode through the ground. So
that's a really good idea.
That's interesting.
Wow. Well, Steve, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know that a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested in this, checking it out and purchasing this product. Like I said, we're gonna take some videos, I think, of us using it and our daughters using it. But for our listeners who are interested in learning more about the product, can you just go ahead and plug all of your social media and let them know where they can find you and any type of promotions you have going on right now? If you want to plug that as well, that would be great.
Well, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to set up a coupon code.
Yeah.
For your listeners and you guys, and
let's do it.
It could be Going Yard Podcast
GYP.
Want to do GYP? Coupon code GYP. All right, let's do it.
GYP. We'll get them if they use GYP. It'll be 30% off. So it breaks it down to about $22.
Nice.
And we'll get them shipped out.
Awesome.
Thank you. That's
Just
wonderful.
Enter that coupon code.
All right.
And then we're at powerupwedge.com. On Instagram, it's power_up_wedge. And then if you have listeners that like to golf, it's Power Up Wedge Golf on Instagram at Power Up Wedge Golf.
All right.
Awesome. Well, Steve, thanks for taking the time tonight and going through all of it. I really, really appreciate it. Love listening to all that you've done and did and all the instruction. I know we got a ton of parents out there that can probably relay some of this knowledge to their sons and daughters and help them elevate their game to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. And I have one more question for you, sir. We asked this to every single one of our interviewees. I always mess up that part when I try to say that. Every person that we interview, we ask this question to. So, if you had one start in the major leagues, what would you choose for your walkout song to the mound?
I'd be Down with the Sickness, Disturbed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's the drums. It's everything.
The drums to me are like a 50 caliber machine gun. And this is obviously not a song that was around when I was playing. Back in the day, it probably would have been Ronnie James Dio or Rainbow Man on a Silver Mountain or something like that. But this whole Down with the Sickness, it's the building up of the sickness, which I talk to kids about the adrenaline, and kind of like being a shark, you kind of come out of nowhere. You want to be aggressive, you want to be a shark, and you want to attack. And just the way this song builds up into you is, can you feel it?
Mm-hmm.
And then when it starts coming on, it's like, oh shit, it's like, here it comes, it's coming. How do I control this? And I know we talked about adrenaline earlier too, but it's along those same lines. So I don't know, not in a bad way. I'm a touchy-feely guy as far as coaching and trying to present feels and ways to find your mind to get through things. And this song for me, that song for me is it just puts me over the top, dude. I ain't just scout. I might drive for 8 hours and just have that song on.
That's perfect.
In the Midwest. I'm not kidding you. It's just, from my feet to my shoulders and my head, just feeling that song.
Well, I think it's a great choice, and I appreciate you taking the time, man. I know it's a weekday. You had some games. You're at your daughter's game, and You kids had stuff going on, so I really appreciate you taking the time, and we appreciate the coupon code. So everyone, coupon code is GYP. So make sure you put that in there, get 30% off. So, but Steve, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. Have a
Thank
good
you
night.
guys. You're awesome, and I hope I didn't go too long, but
no.
I appreciate the questions and giving me the opportunity to just talk what I've learned and gain from others, throughout my years. So
No problem, man. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you guys.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. See ya.
Bye-bye.
A scary place now that you've woken up the demon. The enemy. Come on, get down with the sickness. Come on, get down with the sickness. Come on, get down with the sickness. Open up your hate and let it run to me. Come on, get down with the
Thanks for checking out another episode of the Going Yard podcast. Please like and subscribe to our stuff all over social media. We're at Going Yard Podcast on all social media, except for Twitter, as I have to say every week, which we are at Going Yard and the number 2. We're not as active on Twitter, but we try on there. But hope you guys enjoy this. We had a lot of fun recording it.
I'm excited. We got a lot of interviews coming up with some exciting people here in the future. If you can, find us on iTunes. Leave us a review there if you can. Find us on SoundCloud and listen to it there. Like us there. You can check us out on Google Play Store as well. And we're all over, everywhere, posting what we can, as much as we can. But if you can, share. Please share with your friends. Keep the conversation going. Drop us a message if you want to hear about a topic, you want to talk about a player, story going on. If you know somebody who should be on the podcast, get interviewed, reach out to us. Let us know.
All right, so that's a wrap. So for Steve Gossett of PowerUpWedge.com, I'm Dan.
And I'm Tyler. See ya.
Later.